Hi everyone. We are going to be doing Kimberbell clubs. I think it's month 5. I know we're a little bit behind. It's the nautical hoops anchors away design, and we'll also be doing the autumn blessings bench pillow. So I'm not wearing a mask, but obviously I am not at work. I'm at home pretty much by myself, except for my dogs, and my husband's around here someplace, so he might be popping through. You never can tell what's going to happen. But the first one I'm going to do is the nautical hoops away, oh my gosh, nautical hoops anchors away. So I'm going to start by cutting 2 pieces of my background fabric, 5 by 5, and I'm also going to cut a piece of SF 101, 5 by 5, and I'm going to fuse that to my my background piece. So let's get started. The easiest way for me to do this is I'm going to be using my rotating cutting mat and my 45-inch splash alpha trimmer, and I'm just going to lay my fabric on my cutting mat. I don't know how well you can see this. And I'm going to go ahead and trim. Now I'm trimming this a little bit big because I want to take it to my ironing board or my ironing mat. Set this aside. Got my ironing mat right here and my mighty iron. I'm going to iron the wrinkles out of this, out of both pieces actually. Then I'm going to go back to my cutting mat and actually even them up. That was very wrinkly, and I don't like to be wrinkly. We will be kitting this if anyone is interested. I don't have a price for the kit at the moment because, of course, I'm working from home, so I don't have pricing. But there we go. That's cut. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut my piece of SF 101. And I'm going to adhere it to the wrong side of one of my pieces. I'm cutting 2 pieces 5 by 5. That's optional. I want 1 piece is for the background that I'm going to embroider on, and the other piece is just to cover the stitches. This is going to be like a little ornament in the cute little bamboo hoops that Kimberbell sells. And I'm going to go ahead and cut. Cut. Set that aside. I'm going to come over to my wool pressing mat again. Lay this right over here. And I'm going to adhere, I don't know if you can see it or not, I'm going to adhere the SF 101 to my background fabric. And I'm putting my iron right on my handy dandy little silicone pressing mat. And if any of you know me, you know I like to use Terrio Magic. But there's a new product out that I'm trying for the first time. This is Mary Ellen's Best Press 2. It's supposed to be very similar to Terrio Magic, so I'm going to give it a try, see what I think about it. And I'm hoping it smells a little bit better. But again, I am also going to be using, because I want to protect my wool pressing mat and I want to protect my iron, I'm going to be using a pressing cloth before I do this. Oh, it would help if I turned it on. And I'm just saturating it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my pressing cloth over my fabric so I keep this off my iron. Press. And then press. and press it dry. And it makes the fabric stiff. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my 4x4 hoop and my cutaway stabilizer. And for this, I'm going to be using a heavy cutaway. So I'll be right back. Well, I don't know how the audio is on this, but it sounds like someone is coming to my door because my dogs are up there just barking their little heads off. I'm going to go ahead and loosen my hoop. Push that in. Kind of a lazy man's way of hooping, but so, okay. So I have my cutaway stabilizer hooped, and I'm going to go over to my machine. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring my embroidery design up. It's in my pocket. I'm going to hit set. The colors that I'm going to be using today are bright blue, sultry, and mocha. And I'm going to go ahead and thread my machine with the bright blue first. I'm just using white thread in the bobbin, regular bobbin thread. Slip my hoop into the machine. I'm going to put my machine in embroidery. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn you again. I'm going to go ahead and stitch my first color, which is a placement stitch. It is now stitched, my placement stitch for my fabric. I'm going to go ahead and put my fabric, background fabric that has my SF101 on it. I'm going to go ahead and put that right here in my hoop, centered over the placement stitch, and I'm going to slide it back into the machine. I'm going to stitch my tack down stitch. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and stitch my anchor satin stitch. I'm leaving the color blue. And I'm going to continue stitching and changing colors until the end of the project. Okay, so the project is all done. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove it from the hoop. And I'm going to trim the stabilizer only right now. So I'm going to take my handy dandy rotating cutting mat. I can get you to see this or not. And I am going to trim. So I'm going to go ahead and trim my excess stabilizer. And I'm just going to zip around here like this. Then I'm going to go grab my backing fabric, turn the project to the back, and I'm just going to lay my backing fabric wrong sides together. I'm going to go ahead and get my little hoop here, loosen it. I'm going to center the project on the inner bamboo hoop. Best I can. Then I'm going to go ahead and press my hoop over it. I might have to open it up a little bit more. I'm going to press the hoop down over it. Get it nice and tight. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and I'm going to trim around the outside of the hoop. Isn't that adorable? And then what I would do is I would take my pom-poms. I would go ahead and take my pom-poms, either my white, my red, white, or I think they come in black also. And I would get my glue gun and I would just glue them around the outside. I don't have my glue gun plugged in, so I'm not doing that right now. There you go. Obviously this was an open package, so I would obviously use the red ones, or if I can find another white package. Or you could just leave it like this. Really, really cute, simple, and the back is finished. All right. Thanks, everybody. On to the next one. Okay, so we're moving on to our second project. This is the Autumn Blessings Bench Buddy pillow that we're going to be doing. So for this project, we're going to need the bouquet pull flowers, the fall bouquet pull flowers. We're going to need the Kimberbell Embellishments crocheted edge trim. We're going to need the gold mylar. We'll also need a pillow form for the bench buddy. I'm also going to need cutaway stabilizer, which I have here. I'm going to need my 5x7 hoop. We're going to need the 5x7 hoop and cutaway stabilizer. I've gone ahead and already hooped my stabilizer. I also have gone ahead and cut my fabric I need 3 pieces of fabric. I need the background piece and the back piece 1 and 2. I have those all cut, ready to go. My background piece, I have gone ahead and I have fused my SF101 to it. And then I've also drawn my center marks on my fabric with a heat away eraser, a friction pen. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over to my machine. I'm going to load the design and we're going to stitch it. Okay, I'm at my machine and I'm going to go ahead and pull the design up. Autumn Blessings is what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and put it into embroidery. I am going to load my hoop into the machine. Actually, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my background fabric and I'm going to line my placement lines up. The lines that I drew in the center of the hoop. I'm going to line that up so I know that everything's centered. And I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my Kimberbell tape. And I'm going to tape it into place. Again, I'm using just white thread in the bobbin. The first thing that's going to stitch is Blessings, and I've decided the colors I'm using here today are burnt orange for my autumn. I'm going to use sienna to stitch my letters, Blessings, and I'm using military gold to go around my mylar. So I'm going to go ahead and load the thread into the machine, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the word Blessings. I want to just double check and make sure that nothing is slipped on me, that everything looks straight. Looks pretty good. I'll put my foot down. And start stitching. And I'm going to stitch my placement for my mylar. So now I'm going to go ahead and place my mylar over the placement stitches, and I'm going to use my Kimberbell tape to tape it down. in place. This is such a cute little, oops, sorry, cute little bench buddy pillow. And I'm going to leave military gold on there, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch my decorative fill stitches. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just remove my hoop from my machine just to make life easier for myself. And if you can see those beautiful stitches, then all you have to do is just tear the mylar away. It tears away relatively easily. Remove the tape with the mylar. And there you have it. So then I'm going to go ahead and put my hoop back into my machine. Change my thread again to my burnt orange. And now it's done. So now I'm going to take it over and I am going to trim it using the orange pop rulers. Okay, so I have removed the project from the hoop and I'm bringing it over to my cutting table, and I am going to trim it up using the orange pop rulers. So I'm first going to take my tape off because that's just in my way. I'm using the 8.5 by 10.5 and the 6.5 by 8.5 rulers. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is give it a little press. So I'll get rid of my lines that I drew on with my friction pen. A nice press. Alrighty. Then I'm going to set it down on my rotating cutting mat, and I'm going to nest my two rulers together, my 8.5 by 10.5, or I'm sorry, yes, 8.5 by 10.5 and my 6.5 by 8.5. Nest them right together, and then I'm going to visually line up I'm going to visually center my project. Actually, I'm going to do the outside one first, whoops, then the inside one. Bring this right together. There we go. And make sure I get it straight. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my 6.5 here, and then I'm going to remove this from the hoop, or I'm sorry, I'm going to remove the inner orange pop ruler. Again, remember, I'm just doing the and I'm going to carefully remove the inner orange pop ruler. Just like that. And I'm going to remove my ruler, the other ruler. And I'm just going to extend this cut line end here. I'm going to rotate this. repeat on this side. Then I'm just going to trim 1/4 inch away from each side. Which should give me 6 by 10 finish. There you have it. I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to, I had previously folded my back fabric 1 and 2, folded 1/4 inch over, and then 1/4 inch again, and I took this to my machine and I top stitched it. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to put the pillow together, and I'm going to sew the lace trim along the sides, and then I'm going to put it together, and I'll be back. Okay. So I'm back from my sewing machine. I have this all sewed together. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip. When you go around the corners, instead of squaring them, if you round them, the pillow will fit better on here. So I'm just going to trim up my extra, and I'm going to cut into my corners, just snip into them. You hang on a second. And just trim this up. So I'm going to take my Kai scissors. The great thing about the Kai scissors is that they snip right down to the edge of the scissor. So I'm going to cut a little bit off of my corners. I'm going to angle them, and then I'm going to just snip. See this? Snip. Careful not to cut my stitches, but just snip into there. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing or not. And then here. Alrighty. Then I'm going to turn it. And I've got my precise point and turn tool from OESD. You know how I love that tool. And I'm going to use my large end of it. Point and press, I believe it's called. There we go. I'm going to give it another little bit of a press, and I'm going to take my pull flower, which I have previously gotten all pulled together. Oops. Now, a little tip, what I do when I pull these together, I'm going to actually use the string that I use to pull it into shape. You know, you can manipulate it around a little bit just to make it look the way you want it. And then I'm going to use that as my thread to sew it onto my pillow. So I just simply thread the string onto my needle. And I'm going to sew it right down here, the bottom corner, right here. That's where I'm going to sew it. So instead of tying a knot in my thread, I'm just going to go in and out like that, pull it up, and then I'm going to secure it. I'm going to go back down through my flower, and I'm going to be using my thread to just shape it the way I want it. Once I get it secured, I'm going to manipulate the flower around a little bit until I get it looking the way I want it to look. Then I'm just going to simply go up through, in and out a few times. So I know it's not going to fall off. Fluff it up. Tie it off. Snip my thread. Then I'm going to take it over to my pressing pad. Bring it back over to my pressing station and give it another press. I'm going to be careful not to press the pull flower. All right, once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and put my pillow in. Making sure I get the pillow up into the corner, my rounded corners. Same thing at the bottom, down there, into the corner. And there we go. Isn't that cute? What an adorable little gift that would be to give someone. All right. Hope everybody had fun. Again, there will be kits available. I don't have the pricing right now, but if you call the store on this week, then I will give you pricing on the kits. Thanks. Everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay sewing. Bye.